Greetings and welcome to our daily walk through the scripture for November the 19th. Your readings today find you in Ezekiel chapter 40, starting in verse 28, going all the way through the end of Ezekiel chapter 41. Then you have James chapter 4, Psalm 118, verses 19 through 29, and Proverbs chapter 28, verses 3 through 5. Now, as you read James chapter 4, he's got some really strong words for us. I mean, he talks about how we need to recognize the battle within us. You desire what you do not have, so you kill, you covet, but you cannot get what you want, so you quarrel and you fight. We know this. This is not a new thing for us to know that we have an internal battle happening inside of us. But I think verse 10 is kind of the key to that whole situation beforehand. And that is, humble yourselves before the Lord. Humility is something that we think we like, but we really don't. Humility is something that is not a cherished or prized attribute in our world. It's just not. We cherish people who are go-getters and who are aggressive and do all these different things. And we look at that and we celebrate that. And yet that is not what God celebrates. Humility keeps us from coveting. It keeps us from quarreling and fighting. And when he says in verse 2, you do not have because you do not ask God, the humble will ask God, recognizing where their provision comes from. The humble will not ask God for things that they don't need because they recognize that they don't need them. When you ask, you do not receive because you ask with wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures. The humble do not seek out self-gratification. They seek out lessening of the self to elevate God. Humility is someone who recognizes where their true value comes from. And humility, frankly, is difficult because we like the idea of elevating ourselves. We like the idea of being, thought well of by others, of being popular, of being with kids. I mean, especially you talk to a kid and what is it they want to be? They want to be TikTok influencers and they want to be on social media influencers because they want people to like them and they want to be famous because they think being famous is great. Sadly enough, there are a lot of us adults that think the same way, that if I was just famous, and it's not just regular people, I mean, it's everyone. It's pastors, we struggle with it. I mean, we pastors, we get that envy thing. We look at these pastors of mega churches, and when we're young and full of vim and vigor, we look at it and go, why can't I have that? I could totally do that. But humility, the older we get, I think the more we recognize the value in humility. And again, it all comes back to verse 10. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up. That second part of it really is asking the question of, where do you want your reward? Do you want your reward now, where you do get to be famous and you do get to be rich and you do get to be all of those things, but here is where those rewards stay? Or do you want God to lift you up, to elevate you in the eternal world? See, that's really what it's about. It's about having an eternal mindset and recognizing where our source and where we want our source of elevation to come from. Do we want it to come from people? Or do we want it to come from the creator of the universe? Now, I think most of us say the creator of the universe, but then we go and we pursue what people worry about. This is why humility is so difficult for us. This is why humility is the thing that we wrestle with so much. We need not to boast. Verse 16, as it is, you boast in your arrogant schemes. All such boasting is evil. We don't boast for that. We should boast for God, as Paul says. I boast in my weakness, because in my weakness I am strong. We are mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, we ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, humbly we will live and do this or that. Humility is really the key. And frankly, humility is tough. So that's it. There's our thought for the day. We will talk more next time.